Hello there. Welcome to the REI Friends podcast. My name is Catherine Soring. I'm your host, and I'm so excited. I just finished speaking with Ryan Cavasin. I can't believe I can say that, but I can. And he is a young man. I just told him that I could be his mom. Literally, I could. And we talked about his journey and how he got started and how every time he hit a wall, and he did several times, he was able to overcome it and learn from the experience instead of calling it something else. So if you are interested in hearing some numbers and hearing, this is the first person that gave me 7 points on what they would do differently if they would start again. So those were so fire. You don't want to miss them. I promise you don't. So make sure that you subscribe and listen and watch the interview on Spotify or YouTube. Now let's go to the episode. Hi Ryan, welcome to the REI Friends podcast. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So excited to talk to you today. For those that don't know you, can you introduce yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Ryan Cavasin. I am 24 years old, born and raised in Niagara Falls, Ontario. So I got started in real estate about 2019. I bought my first duplex, and then kind of got into more active real estate. So wholesaling. I got into some mentorships as well. That was kind of tailored towards wholesaling. So yeah, I started working with some people in my area, started wholesaling, doing that, and then we ended up giving up a bunch of deals that the investors on the other end made some good returns. So we're like, all right, why don't we start flipping? So that was kind of beginning of last year. Started flipping. So we've done about 10, 12 flips since then. And then now we're kind of transitioning our business model, just the way the market is, towards more multifamily properties.
Nice. Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. And I'm glad that you share your age. So you are 24 years old. You started in 2019. What made you think real estate?
Yeah, absolutely. So after high school, I was kind of lost. Didn't really know what avenue I wanted to go down. My whole life, I wanted to be an NHL player, and then it got to a stage where I was like, all right, I'm 16 years old. I'm 150 pounds and 5'9". So NHL probably won't be in my future, but yeah.
Yeah.
So I had to get a little bit real with myself, and then went to college for general business. Gonna be honest, I kind of wasted my time doing that. But I don't regret it because I did meet my buddy there who introduced me to the book Rich Dad Poor Dad. And that was kind of my gateway drug into real estate. So yeah, after reading that, I just got into any type of podcast, book, seminar, anything I can get my hands on to learn about real estate. That's kind of what led me into real estate.
Yeah, that's so good. And I'm glad that you found it that early because I think, like you, had I found it right when I was about to go to college or finishing up, I definitely would have gone that route instead of going to corporate America right up out of college. But coulda, woulda, shoulda, right? So you read the book, you get excited. What is your first step now that you're getting your hand on anything that you can? Is that when you started with the internships? What was your first step?
Yeah, so when I first started, I ended up having a conversation with my sister, and I was like, "All right, we gotta buy property. I'm reading this book, and I'm getting really, really excited." Got her to read it, and then just saved every dollar I could possibly save. Ended up purchasing our first property together, so we partnered on that, and then ran out of money. So we were like, well, I kind of she wasn't really as active into the whole real estate. Like she kind of wanted to buy one or two kind of, but I was kind of more, all right, let's scale this type thing. So that's when I spent some money on um got into a mentorship that kind of everybody was focused on active real estate. So yeah, just started learning about wholesaling, kind of learn every aspect of wholesaling, and started doing it, started making mistakes, and that was ultimately what got me to where I am is literally just taking action and making as many mistakes as possible and learning from them.
That is so good because I love when you said you knew you want to buy a house and then you're like, okay, let me hit my sister up. So you didn't let not having all the money be an obstacle. You found someone else that even though you said she was not as excited or interested in real estate, that you're like, okay, she's got money. Let's put our money
Right.
together. and buy their first property. But then you said, I love what most people say, they run out of money. So what did you think when you run out of money? Do you think you were going to stop there? What's the thought process at that point?
I actually learning from the books. I learned about leverage and using other people's money, stuff like that. So I always knew that was kind of going to be what my strategy was. But at the time when I was first starting, I didn't really trust myself using other people's money to buy
Mhm.
my own deals. So that's
Yeah.
kind of what led me more towards the wholesale route. Just because it's really it doesn't you don't have to put up any money. All you have to put up is a deposit, which you end up getting back anyway. So I usually do $1,000 deposit, so it's not really an upfront cost or too heavy of an upfront cost. So yeah, that's kind of what led me towards the wholesale route.
Nice. So at this point, are you still living at home, or did you actually get a job ever?
Yeah, no, I honestly I was working as a server, and yeah, that's really all I was doing, but saving every single dollar. So yeah, I was living at home. I kind of made it my goal to save like 75 to 80% of my income. That's kind of the advantage I took out of my young 20s was not spending as much money, living, renting a place or owning a place, stuff like that. I just took advantage of saving up, staying at home, and just being super frugal with my money.
Yeah, that is so smart. So, what was the mindset about being so young and not thinking real estate can wait, or I'm gonna use other people's money? Like you keeping your money, how were you able to do that when you probably your friends were not doing that?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not too sure. I think learning Excel in high school, or sorry, in college was definitely one of those things that kind of opened my mind. So I was doing a lot of research on personal finance, and kind of learning how to save your money, how to budget your money, stuff like that, and then applying that to what I've learned in college with my Excel. So learning how to use spreadsheets and stuff like that. So I started kind of a budget and tracking my income and expenses, and you know literally documenting every cent that I spend every single month, and kind of piecing out, okay, I shouldn't have spent here, I can cut back on this, I can cut back on this. So that's kind of what got me into the more personal finance stuff. And then I applied that to my real estate side, where I'm super frugal, and then I invest kind of everything that I can save, type thing.
Yeah, that is so good. And I hope people that are watching or listening are getting this that, yeah, you're going to use other people's money and you probably are going to be able to do um, seller financing or subject to or anything or any strategy. But if you can have your own money for any deals that you might not have, you might not be able to wait or just to feel kind of secure. It's nice to know that you have some money in reserve. So I think that's a great idea. And the fact that you were able to use the degree to learn Excel, which is a skill that not everybody knows how to use. Unfortunately, it's not really hard to learn, but once you get it, and then you can use it pretty much in every aspect of your life.
Absolutely.
Yep, so good. So okay, so you start doing wholesaling. How do you make the transition from wholesaling to flipping? Like, what pushed you to do that?
Yeah, so when I was wholesaling, pretty much for those of you who don't know, is you're finding an under market value property. So typically, how I'm finding these deals is you can do it actively, so that requires no money or no cost involved. So you can door knock, literally going door to door and just asking people if they're looking to sell. You can do Kijiji and Facebook, so people are posting their properties for sale or for rent. You can even ask the for rent section and say, hey, have you ever considered selling this property? All the kind of active ways without spending any money. As I said, I'm super frugal, so I didn't want to spend any money when I was first starting. And then after doing a couple deals, I pretty much, sorry, let me go back to the wholesale.
Yeah.
So you're pretty much finding an under market value property. So let's say you're the seller and Jim is the investor. So I'm agreeing. Let's just say your house is worth 500,000. I'm going to offer you 400,000 for your property, and then I'm going to find Jim and I'm going to say, hey Jim, I have this property. It's worth 500. I'll sell it to you for 420,000. So Jim's incentivized because he's getting a property for 80,000 under market value. I'm getting a $20,000 wholesale fee, and you as the seller are either selling because you wanted to sell, or two, you're selling because you got out of a situation that you know, let's say you're going to lose your house or something like that. So that's wholesaling. To go back to your original question, wholesaling, I started doing that, and then got to a stage where we were assigning a bunch of deals where the investor on the other end made ridiculous money. So one deal we did in Hamilton, Ontario, we agreed at 225,000, and like I said, this was when I was first starting, so I wasn't really confident with the numbers, didn't really know what I was doing. So yeah, we agreed at 225,000 with the sellers, and then we found an investor to assign it to for 290,000. So it was a 65K assignment fee, which is really good. But on the other side, the investor bought it from us for 290, didn't touch a thing, didn't do any renovations to it, and sold it as is for 552.
Ooh.
Yeah. So when you're first starting, you're like, wow, that's a stinger, because if I could have raised the money to close on this, I could have made close to 300,000, if not more, right? So, but I don't regret kind of going through that, is because I learned so much from that deal. Main thing was know your numbers, be confident in your numbers. So yeah, that's kind of how I transitioned into more flipping. So after doing a bunch of deals where the investor made really good money, I was like, all right, I think it's my turn now to buy these types of deals. So got connected with some mortgage brokers, started learning creative financing, different financing options, because I was wholesaling, but I didn't have 2 years of self-employed income. So no banks would look at me for the A and B lenders. Whereas if you can use private financing, which is higher interest, but your interest only payments. They usually don't care about your income. All they care about is their equity in the deal. So those are different ways that you can you can purchase properties without actually qualifying like a traditional mortgage. So yeah, after speaking to my mortgage broker, he's more investor focused, so he deals with these types of situations, more self-employed people. You have to get creative with different financing strategies. And then yeah, once we learn how to do it, we kind of systematize the process and try to make it as easy as possible. And then yeah, started acquiring, and now what we do is we raise the money for the down payment and the renovations, and then do the transaction. Once the deal is sold, we pay off our investors, and then we keep the profit.
I love how simple you make it sound. Like, okay, boom, 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 boom. This is what you do. Let's go back a little bit to that deal that you made for you, $65,000, probably more money than you've seen together, right? And then you're feeling pretty great about it. And then you find out how much the other person made. And I love that those deals you never forget. Like, those are the ones that teach you the most. So
Absolutely.
you're like, okay, this wholesaling thing is great, but I'm gonna have to get it on the other side and start doing the flipping. Um, did you? How do you get into it? Did you have a mentor? I know you mentioned that you had like a program or a mastermind that you joined, but how do you make the transition from wholesaling to flipping?
Yeah, so going back to the mentorship that I was in, I ended up connecting with somebody that was in the mentorship, who was doing it. So I suggest this to every single person who's in this that doesn't know the business, that's super new. I kind of had a foundation of like, I know about real estate, but I don't know like the tactical, like when I'm actually in a property, what am I looking for? What am I doing type thing. So getting into that mentorship connected me with somebody in my area who was doing it full time, and I knew he was killing it. So I was like, hey, I'm willing to work for free. I just want to learn the business. I don't care about being paid. I just want to learn the ropes, and I'm willing to work for free. So it's a win-win for both sides. You're getting experience and learning, and then the other person is getting somebody working for free when they normally they would have to pay somebody 25, $30 an hour type thing. Um, so I connected with him. We did a bunch of deals together, and he saw that I was hungry and trying to learn the business and whatever. So we figured out a way where I can work with him and get paid. So we ended up doing like a split on deals. So any deals that I find, I get X split on the deal. So that's really how I first got started. It's just like being hungry, trying to learn every single aspect of the business. And then yeah, going from there.
Yeah, that's so good because you kind of, I don't know if you realize that, but you did the same thing you did at the beginning with buying the duplex with your sister. You are in the mentorship and then you found a partner. Now you're not doing it by yourself. You're finding somebody else has done it before. And that kind of limits or lowers your risk because now you have somebody else doing it with you. One, it's less scary because somebody else is with you, right? And two, they have experience, hopefully, and they'll probably have resources that you will have to um, grow or um, develop over years, but automatically because you are with so and so, you automatically you have that. So that I love the fact that you're leveraging the power of other people as you are jumping from strategy to strategy. Do you think that because you started with buying your own duplex and then going to wholesaling and then going to flipping and then going to multifamily, do you think that doing all those steps led you to where you are today? Like, would you have known about that you want to do multifamily without doing the other things?
I would definitely say, if I were to kind of start over again, I would definitely say do the same path that I was starting with. Not so much buying the duplex, although that was definitely a really good learning experience. I would definitely say start wholesaling and hone down on just one strategy. Like too many people, they hear about, flipping, they hear about land development, they hear about wholesaling, burring, whatever. And it's so easy to be like, oh my God, I'm gonna do this. Oh my God, I'm gonna do that. Oh. And you kind of are scatterbrained. So the term for that is shiny object syndrome. You see the next shiny object, okay, I'm gonna chase after that, chase after that. So if I were to kind of start back again, I would definitely say focus on wholesaling, focus on finding good deals. That's really the art of real estate in general because it translate into the next kind of strategy. So let's say you're now going to focus on flipping. What do you have to do when you're flipping? Find a good deal to actually flip. Same with when you're finding multifamilies. You have to find a good deal to actually buy a multifamily property. So finding good deals is pretty much every strategy, but you focusing on that and learning it and getting good at kind of everything. You're never going to be an expert. You're never going to know everything, but I would say take action in just that, and you'll be good.
Yeah, I think that's such great advice. Thank you so much because that's your experience, and I love the fact that you're not just saying that because you read it somewhere. You actually lived it. You're doing it, and that just makes it more exciting. So then you were doing the flipping, and you said you have done like 10 to 12 flips as of last year. That's a lot of flips.
Yeah, from the beginning of last year up until now.
Yeah, that's a big number. Just so you know, those listening, a flip for some people, they can do one flip a year and they're lucky they finish it. So how were you able to do so many in 1 year?
Honestly, it just started with the first one. We ended up finding it just from I think it was from our flyers we send out, and yeah, the seller called us just like a regular wholesale deal. And this was kind of after we talked to the mortgage brokers and figured out financing, and we're like, you know what, the numbers look good. Let's buy this. So we ended up purchasing it for 440. Actually, the day before closing, we were speaking with a realtor and saying, "Hey, like, we ran our numbers when we first locked it up. Let's run our numbers now, see where we're at." And believe it or not, he actually told us, "You'll be lucky to sell it once it's fixed up for about 500." And we're like, "Uh-oh, after the closing costs, renovations, like we're gonna lose money on this." So we were like super scared taking the possession of the property. And then we ended up deciding, because we were working with a few different agents. We let them know that, like, we're not exclusive to anybody. Anybody who finds us the deal will be the one who's going to get paid, type thing. And we were like, you know what, we're going to do this as a business. Let's treat it as a business. So let's interview different realtors and see who's going to put their best case forward, type thing. So we ended up doing the renovations. It was a light renovation. It was about 30,000, 30,000 of renos, and I think all in we were uh, five around 500,000 with closing costs. We had to pay a lender fee, broker fee, and land transfer tax in Ontario. So yeah, we're all in around 500 to 515. I can't really remember the numbers, but we ended up interviewing realtors. We had about 10 different realtors, and sure enough, the one who kind of put their best case forward was the guy that we use now, and he had a whole marketing package. He told us, this is my average days on market. This is the real estate market in Niagara, what their average days on market is. This is how I'm going to find you a buyer. I'm going to use social media. I'm going to use this XYZ. So we're like, you know what, this sounds like our guy type thing, and we ended up getting it sold for 705, which we were just like mind blown. Like definitely, it helped that the market was like super hot, but at the same time, if we would have used the realtor that we were originally talking to, and he was thinking that we're going to lose money, if we would have got our first offer, which was around 550, he would have said, jump on this, take it, whatever, and we would only make 50 grand, right? So definitely, another piece of advice would be, qualify your realtor as well. Don't just go based on kind of who you know. A lot of people get into real estate and they're like, oh, my dad's uncle's brother is a realtor, or my best buddies whatever is a realtor. Like, no, focus on like who they are, what they do in real estate, and qualify them. Like, ask them specific questions, like what's going to get my property sold for X amount. So yeah, that's kind of my thinking on it.
That is such a good story. You're talking, and I was taking notes because again, you seem to have this pattern of you hit a wall, and I love the fact that like, oops, well, that's the end of the road. I'm just gonna pack my things and go, right? Like this guy says, close-minded, maybe didn't want to do the work, whatever, didn't see the vision. I told you guys that if you broke even, you'll be lucky after. And people that have done flips before, it's a lot of work. So much goes into it, and it can take a while. And if we're with a partner, that makes it even harder, right? So I love the fact that you had that idea of let's interview realtors and let's find a way to get it done. That is such a great idea, because right now, we all have choices, and it's not just you don't have to go with the first person you meet. I love that you said also, this is a business, let's treat it like a business, let's interview people. That was so good, and I hope that people listening or watching are taking notes, because this is real goal. So you're doing the flipping that you guys made, sold it for 705 million thousand. When did you make the switch to multifamily? I know you said that the market kind of pushed you guys that way. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so we actually got into multifamily a little bit before, or I'd say during our flip process. So after learning kind of the financing and stuff like that, we're like, all right, we can have a flip side of our business, but also a buy and hold. So if deals come our way where the numbers make sense for a buy and hold, then we'll look to take it down. So we have a fiveplex that is actually currently under renovations. So we got it at a good price. Pretty much, we're going to use the BRRRR strategy. So for those of you who don't know what that means, it's pretty much an acronym that stands for buy, renovate, rent, refinance, and repeat. So we're in the middle of that. We're doing some renovations to it. Once that's done, we're going to rent it out, then get it appraised. And hopefully, once it gets appraised, we're going to be able to pull out all the capital we invested into it. And essentially doing so, we would own the asset with really no money into it. Even if we do, let's say it's 50 grand type thing, the return on investment is going to be so much higher, because you have so much less capital into the deal. So that's kind of what got us into multifamily. We're still in the market for multifamily. We're always looking at properties, connecting with more partners, stuff like that. And then actually, I wanted to share another little story about wholesaling, and so that was kind of like the up. So the flip that we made like really good money on, I'll kind of share a very big learning experience, but so something I don't regret, but a very like heartbreaking type deal that we had. So it's funny that we ended up getting a lead from a resort. So for those of you who know where the Niagara region is, it's made up of like I think 6 or 7 different cities. and it's in southern Ontario. So we send our flyers through Canada Post. So it's a postal service that we pay to send out flyers that say "We buy houses" type thing. We ended up getting a phone call from a resort that was 4.5 hours away. So we have no idea how our flyer got there. We that we just got a call. So apparently somebody must have went up on vacation to this resort, left it on the table. The maintenance guy picked it up and gave it to the owner. And the owner ended up calling us and was like,
Wow.
"Hey, do you buy resorts?" And we're like, yeah. um, so we're like, all right, let's see what we can do. So after doing a bunch of wholesale deals, we're like, all right, this is a bigger scale, but we are using the same strategy where we're not really changing much. Maybe the paperwork's a little different, but we can figure it out. And that goes back to the mindset. It's just like always don't limit yourself just to, you know, okay, I'm at this scale, I'm just going to stay here. Like, try to grow as much as you can. So anyway, so we ended up going up there for 2 nights just to kind of get an understanding of the property type thing. And we actually overheard the seller on the phone with somebody. And he's like, "Oh, there's these two young kids. They think they're buying this thing, like blah, blah, blah," kind of like downplaying our abilities. And so we're like, damn, we gotta prove ourselves. So we ended up kind of negotiating with him, like, all right, what price are you looking to walk away with? So he wanted, so the deal was 16 cottages, a banquet hall, and his primary residence, which was a 7-bedroom property. So we agreed at 4.5 million, and we were super transparent with him. We let him know that, we are going to be finding an investor to buy this from us. Is that okay with you? And he's like, "Hey, as long as I get my 4.5, I don't care." And we're like, "All right, awesome." So we agreed, we put it under contract. The paperwork was a little bit confusing because there was 3 different agreements, whereas we're used to just one. But we kind of just with our lawyer figured it all out. So we ended up finding a buyer. So actually, let me go back a bit. We ended up trying to figure out what we should sell this for while not scaring off people, like charging too much of an assignment fee, but also, making it worth our time. So we talked to a bunch of people. So how do we value this? So a residential property is based on what's selling in the area, so comparables. Whereas this is more of a business. So it's like the revenue it's generating, it's also real estate. So we're like, how do we value this? So we talked to a bunch of people from different banks, mortgage brokers, etc. And we're like, how do you value this? So we figured it out, and they're like, you actually have a good deal on your hands. We're like, all right, beautiful. So we ended up finding a buyer for $4.8 million, which means our assignment fee that we would walk away with was 300,000. And we're like super
Right.
excited. We're like, oh my God, like this is life changing. So we're super stoked about it. And now all we have to do is wait to the closing date and we get paid. And we're like super excited. So this was in December and the closing date was in April. So we're like, all right, let's go. Like let's get this sold, or let's get this closed. Sure enough, the day of closing, they can't get financing. So they have to back out.
Oh
So
no.
so it was definitely devastating at the time. It was definitely heartbreaking. You have thoughts in your head like, oh my God, like what am I doing? Like, is this worth it? Like all this time and energy I put into this, driving up there, driving back, whatever. Um, but the main takeaway from it is never get emotional about a deal. So the difference between a buyer and an investor is the investor just focuses on the numbers and doesn't and takes the emotion out of it. So do the numbers make sense on this deal? If so, okay, let's pursue it. And in this case, it was like it's not over until it's over. Like let's wait till this is closed and then we can celebrate, then we can get happy. We got excited. We were like telling people, we were posting it all social media. We're like, "Woo, look at us." And it didn't close. So that was our biggest kind of learning experience, is like never get emotional about a deal and never celebrate until it's actually over. So that was one of the stories I kind of wanted to share. Definitely a big
Yeah.
learning experience.
I'm so glad that you share that because there's so many pieces there. And I love you said that it was a learning experience. You could have called it something else, right? But you choose to be optimistic about it. In life, you either learn, um, or you learn. You know, that's it. There's no losing. You're gonna learn. It's gonna cost you one thing or another. But that is so good. So there was no other buyer ever. You only had that one buyer, so you couldn't sell it.
So we did. We actually had about so we put it out on Facebook groups and sent it to our investor list. And there was about 40 different people who were interested, but there's a big difference between interested and actually ready to go. There's a term called tire kickers that we use in wholesaling. Is like there's a lot of people that are like, oh, add me to your list. And whenever a deal comes, I'll take a look. And I'd say 90% of them are never going to buy from you. So that's why another thing you have to do is qualify your buyers and see, okay, what capabilities do they actually have to close on these deals? So there's a lot of people that are say, oh, I'm looking for burrs. Okay, what's your price point? Oh, as long as the numbers make sense. Okay, how are you going to finance it? I don't know. So it really shows kind of the buyer. But yeah, going back, sorry, your original question.
Um, I forget. I think we
No
got
worries.
so good into it, but I forget. I think what I like about is the fact that I was saying that you learn, and you were talking about the tire kickers and being very clear. I love that you were not afraid now to ask questions, because sometimes you might get so excited when somebody, like you say, you add them to your list and they're like, I'm interested, and the difference between interested and actually ready to pursue. And I know that many realtors don't take people out to look at houses if they're not pre-qualified. And I think for wholesaling or anything else that's real estate investing related, you can have a similar process where you're gonna vet them and you're gonna make
Right,
sure that they prove to you that they're not tire kickers. So I think that's the
right,
biggest takeaway from that, at least that I took, is that don't celebrate too early. That was huge. And number two, um, qualify people that they, I mean, if it was going to close in December and they have 4 months, that's a long time to close. So they had a lot of time to close. So maybe throughout the process, checking in with them, making sure, okay, where are things going? Maybe are they pre-qualified to do it, or are they going to raise the money? Like all those little things that you can do while the deal is still not a deal. Because you said that it's not a deal until it closes. So you can get excited about it, but you want to have that signature so you know that is happening, which is so important. So where are you guys today? And let's say you have a fiveplex. So your business is now split into multifamily and flipping.
Yeah, so right now we have 11 residential units, and then three flips that are either almost done renovations or um, uh, just starting renovations. So the 11 units are kind of mixture of like duplex, fiveplex. We have a couple single families. So those are kind of our units of like buy and holds, which we're definitely more focused on scaling that. And then the flips, same thing. We're almost done renovations on two of them, and then just starting renovations on one of them. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at. And then our main focus now is, like I said, the multifamily space. So anywhere between 5 units and up. Um, the reason being is, as I said before, the residential property, the properties are valued based on the comparables of what's selling in the area, whereas a fiveplex or 5 units and up is focused on the income it actually generates. So, not to get too into detail and confuse people, but to value a property is you take, or to value a multifamily property that's 5 units and up, you take the net operating income. So what that is your income minus your expenses before your mortgage. That gets you your net operating income, and then you divide that by whatever cap rates banks are appraising properties in that area. So let's say, let me pull out my calculator here. Let's say you have a net operating income of $50,000 a year. You're going to divide that by, let's say, 5%. That gets you $1 million in value for the property. So you can have a 5 unit building that's valued at $1 million, or you can have a 10 unit building valued at $1 million, all based on the net operating income. So that's another way that you can increase the value of the property, is by figuring out ways that you can charge more or increase income. So you can do that with storage containers. You can do that with charging for laundry, parking, any type of ways that you can just add a little bit of income. Because the crazy part is, a lot of people don't realize, if you do the math, let's say you increase the net operating income on a property for, let's say, $200 a month. Somehow, whether you charge for parking, whatever, $200 a month times 12, that's $2,400 a year. That increases the value, if you do a 5% cap rate, of $48,000 of added value to the building, just from $200 a month. So that's why multifamily and those 5 units and up, that's why we're focused on that, is because you can increase the value super differently, as opposed to, a regular residential. Regular residential, you can only focus on what's selling in the area, and type of finishes that you put into the property.
Wow, that is so good. So I was playing to get the sun out of my face, and I'd be so
No,
glad.
you're good.
I was so taking notes because I love that. That explanation is so good of thinking of how can I make my property more profitable? How can I make more money for me? And I love the fact that just adding that $200 a month, you can increase your property by $48,000. That's huge. And you can find that if you are creative and look at places like you mentioned, a couple of things: storage, laundry, parking. There's so many things you can charge for that people don't. I'm impressed and sometimes upset by the people that, and I can tell who's a landlord and who's an investor, because landlords just rent you the apartment. Investors will look at how can I maximize how much money I get per unit, and that makes a big difference. I was gonna ask you earlier and I forgot. What does your team look like today? Because you seem to have a lot of things going, and I am gonna guess you're not doing all of this by yourself.
No, I definitely have a team. So it's me and my business partner Jordan. So it's a small team. We have a bunch of contractors kind of working on our projects. Um, it's really a tight kind of group. So we have, me and my partner Jordan. We're kind of the owners of the company. We have our mortgage broker. So our power team, I would say, would be our mortgage broker, our realtor, our contractor, and then just kind of little day-to-day tasks. We either hire like a virtual assistant, from a different country, or we hire friends and family type thing. Just depends on what we need to do. But that's pretty much just like my type of team. And then now I'm sorry. And then the other side is the investor side. So we have a bunch of investors that we kind of either put their money towards our flip projects or partner with them on a multifamily property. So that's kind of the business in a nutshell.
Yeah, that's so good. Thank you for sharing that breakdown, because I think sometimes people get all hung up on like, I'm gonna have to hire all these people, and I am all you said it, getting a VA in another country. I have a really good one, in hopefully changing her life, right? And she's helping me out too. So there's so many different ways and different sites that people can leverage, to be able to make a difference and be able to keep more profit. The less money you spend, the more profit you keep, right? So that is so important. And I love that you have a key, your core team, the people that you can go to on a regular basis. So, and that you also systematize. I love when you said that. So there's a process to the way you guys do things.
Absolutely. And the other thing I'll add is, like, a lot of people think that, like, oh my God, I have to have a power team set up before I get started. And that's definitely not the case. Like I said before, like, I started just working with somebody, learning the ropes. And the other thing you can do is borrow credibility, is what I pretty much did. Is just because you haven't done a deal or you haven't done XYZ doesn't mean you can't have those conversations with people. So when I didn't have a wholesale deal, I borrowed the credibility of the person that I was working with, and says, hey, I'm doing XYZ. Because a lot of people at the start are like, well, who's going to work with me if I haven't done anything? I'm not really providing them any value. whatever. Whereas if you can borrow that credibility and say, yeah, my team has done XYZ, even though you haven't done it, why do they need to know that? It's a good way to kind of get that inner confidence to like kind of start building relationships. Because if somebody comes to you, or if you're trying to build a relationship with a realtor and they're like, okay, so what type of properties are you looking for? I don't know. What have you done? Nothing. Then they're going to be like, okay, I'm just wasting my time with this person. Whereas if you borrow credibility and say, we've done XYZ, this is kind of what we're looking for. This is how we can work together. I incentivize. So like a way that I've incentivized my realtor is because if I'm wholesaling, they don't get paid on the sale because everything's done off market. Whereas a way that I've incentivized my realtor is say, I'm always generating leads. I'm constantly on the hunt for deals. So I pretty much have it like a funnel. So I get as many leads as possible. And then the more qualified leads, those are the deals that I can wholesale. But if a deal comes my way where they want too much for the property that I'm willing to pay, I can refer that to my realtor and they can sell the property and that's how they get paid. So going back to what I was saying is like figuring out little ways where you can incentivize your power team to work with you is pretty much how you're going to make them stick around, especially in the beginning. Once you're doing volume, when you're doing volume, they're going to want to stick around. Whereas at the beginning, it's kind of tougher to. I've gone through so many realtors when I was first starting, didn't really know what I was doing. Once I started working with that person in my area, that's when kind of the doors open where people are wanting to come to me and borrowing that credibility. I still didn't do a deal at the time, but I was still, oh yeah, we've done XYZ. I've done this, 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 and this. And that's why I think the other thing is a lot of people like tell people dive right in, figure it out. I definitely agree with that, but I also think you need a foundation to know what you're doing before jumping in. So I spent a couple years. I don't think everybody needs a couple years. I literally think you can do it within a couple months of just like diving in and learning real estate. I was too scared to take action at the time, and I honestly I let a lot of people convince me that I was too young to get into real estate, which was kind of um, I wouldn't say a setback, but it definitely like limited me. I had like even my dad at the time, he was like, "Oh, real estate's a cutthroat business. I don't know if I would jump in. Like maybe wait till you're a little older, type thing." And now he's like, "Hey, when I retire, I want to work for you." um, so it definitely was a huge mindset shift. I know I'm kind of going going back and forth on everything, but yeah, I'd say once you're starting, like definitely borrow credibility from somebody, and people are gonna wanna work with you.
Yeah, that is so good. I love that you went into all those little areas, and specifically with the naysayers. But sometimes those naysayers are the people that love you the most, and they're scared because they don't understand and they don't want you to get hurt. And it comes from a good place, but that doesn't mean that you should
Absolutely.
stop what you want to do just because someone else is scared. And
Right.
I had a similar experience in my personal life when I wanted to do something, and my parents were telling me no, and then I did it anyway, and then they were bragging to people afterwards, and I'm like, didn't you just,
Yeah.
but it happens, and it happens pretty much to every single person that is doing something that no one in their family has done before. So I love the
Mhm.
fact that you mitigated your risk, you still did what you needed to do, and then you have proved your concept, whether you have made have had learning experiences, is what we're going to call it, or not. You still prove your concept, and now people believe. But at first, when you haven't done it and it hasn't worked yet, you haven't proven anything. So you have no experience, and people are almost right to think, who are you to do it, but who are you not to do it? So I love the
Right.
fact that you went into that. It was so, so good. Anything that you're working on right now that you would like people to help you with, or anything that you're promoting that you want people to be a part of?
No, nothing too specific that comes to mind. I definitely I've been posting a blog on LinkedIn. So anybody that wants to connect with me on LinkedIn or Instagram, Facebook, whatever, it's just at Ryan Cavasin. That's pretty much where I post most of my stuff is through social media. I have a TikTok account that I'm not crazy active on, but but yeah, any of the social platforms, I'm definitely one message away. Don't hesitate to reach out to me. I'm definitely I don't bite. So yeah.
It's so good. I was just finding you. I found you. Here you are. Perfect. Okay, awesome. So, yeah, super, super findable. Um, Great, there you go. That's the invite. We make sure that we're gonna put that your LinkedIn profile also on the show notes so people can connect with you and read that blog, because I found that a lot of people, when they are excited about real estate like we are, we cannot get enough, right? Like, I'm listening, I'm reading books, I'm going to events if I can, because the closer you are to people that are doing what you want to do, I think the easier the fear kind of goes to the back, and you're able to actually do something instead of just continue to learn. So I love that you touched on that as well. But let me ask you something that I ask every single guest of the show. If you were to start over today, what will you do differently from what you have done so far?
Um, that's a great question. I would probably say start um start building a foundation. Learn as much as you can, connect with more people. That's one thing that I kind of waited a little too long to do. Is get into Facebook groups and literally just message as many people as you possibly can. Connect with them. So what I've been doing as of late is I created a Calendly link that is connected to my calendar, and it pretty much shows what times you're available. You can kind of pick and choose when you're available, and you have a templated message. You say, "Hey, how are you? I saw you in X Facebook group. I'd love to connect with you. I know we haven't had a chance to connect. Here's my Calendly link if you're up for a phone call." And 99% of the people are like, "Yeah, let's do it, absolutely." And you're not really trying to get something out of them. Like, that's a bad way to start a relationship, is like, "Oh, what can you give me? What can you give me?" I would definitely provide value, as much value as you possibly can. Ask them like, "Hey, what projects do you have on the go? Do you need help with anything? Like, I'm willing to learn the business, willing to work. I just want to learn," type thing. Especially when you're first starting out. Ask them kind of who a question that I've even asked now is like, who's one person you suggest I reach out to and connect with? Because that's another way where you can kind of expand your network. And then another thing I've been doing is getting their emails and writing notes on the phone call that we had. So I have a it's an app called Airtable, and I literally just write their name, kind of where they're from, when we connected last, and their email, and some notes on the phone call. And then now if I have a deal come up or whatever and somebody's looking to partner, I send that to my email list, or I call them personally. I save their phone number, say, "Hey, I have this deal if you're interested," type thing. So that's one thing I would say is definitely build more relationships at the start. And, like, especially if you're, like, first starting out, everybody, believe it or not, everybody is, like, willing to help. There's some people that are like, "Oh, no, screw you, pay me for my time," type thing, but, like, almost every genuine person is like, "I'm willing to help," like, you know, "What do you need?" type thing. And then, yeah, like I said, provide value to other people, and, like, it'll come back to you. So, like I said, I was like, "I'm willing to work for free," and I got the experience and knowledge to where I can do it now. So yeah, I'd say I would definitely do that. Um, and yeah, document your journey. That's another thing that I've learned from like other people is like, no matter how early you're starting, always document what you're doing, whether you're just walking through a property, whether you're connecting with somebody. Always post on social media. At start, I was kind of a very introverted person. I don't really like to be flashy and, "Oh, look at me." I'm not really center of attention. I like to kind of be person in the corner whose attention's off of. So at the start when I was posting on social media, I kind of felt arrogant and, "Oh, look at me, like look what I'm doing." But like once you kind of get comfortable posting, you'll be super surprised at the people that are watching. So people you went to high school with, people that you worked with, people who, and everybody's always interested. And that's honestly how I've gotten some of my best deals or best partnerships is like people are like, hey, I saw you walk in this property, or I saw you doing this. Like, I have a buddy who's looking to sell. Like, have you know, and I pay for referrals. I always post that as well, and people are like, hey, my buddy's looking to sell. Like, are you willing to pay me? Hey, absolutely. As long as I can make a deal happen, sure. So yeah, definitely document your journey is one of the things I didn't really do when I was like first learning, but now I've started to do it. But yeah.
Those are so good. I wrote all those down. We'll make sure to put them in the show summary. But those are so good, and that's something that I don't know how I knew, but I knew I wanted to document my own journey. So I'm a writer, so I have been writing, and that's why I started the podcast, because I didn't want to forget, because I have built all the businesses, and then everything becomes a blurb. Even though you remember, it's not the same as being able to watch videos or read posts or read what you wrote, like you're doing with a blog. It's nice to look back and be able to be like, wow, that's where I was. That was my mindset then. So I love that specifically. The other 7 things that you said, we'll recap them and put them in the show notes, because I think those were very detailed and nobody's ever actually given me a list of what they would do differently. So thank you for that. I so appreciate that. Where do you hang out the most on social media? Where can people find you? Like, I know you mentioned LinkedIn and social media, but what's your prime one, your favorite?
I definitely say Instagram for sure.
Okay. So it's at Ryan Cavasin. Is it?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, we'll make sure to post that. We also tag you in all the posts and stuff for the episode. This has been so informational. I am so impressed with the fact that you could easily be my son, and you're doing all these things.
Thank you.
A real estate company that is doing so well, and you have tried so many different strategies. I am literally so proud of you. And excited for you and the people that you are inspiring, because there were so many learning lessons that you went through that I think people will find really helpful. And the fact that you continue to learn and now are giving back, it's so amazing. I always enjoy your posts on Instagram. That's where I hang out the most. So I would definitely suggest that people connect with you, because your content is it's always positive, but it's also very helpful. So even though it's in Canada, I think there are still so many things that people can learn from you here in the States. So thank you so much for being on the show. I cannot wait for people to listen and to watch, and hopefully you can come back soon.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I appreciate the time, and I thank you for having me on.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Well, guys, there you have it. Another amazing interview. I never know what I'm going to learn from people. I don't look them up ever, because I want to be surprised. I want to ask genuine questions that come from the conversation. So if you are starting, and if you are as young as Ryan, don't be discouraged by your age. Definitely take notes. This is an episode that I say this every time, but I do it. I listen again, and then I take notes again. Look, I have 2 pages worth of notes, because it was that good. So make sure that you subscribe to this show so you don't miss any of the new episodes. I can believe that the summer is almost over, but we had a new interview every single week. I'm so excited about that. Please know that I love you, that I'm rooting for you, and I'm going to see you super, super, super soon. Bye.